Starting. All right. Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast at Arkham, where we're going to talk about today a little bit about character creation and what that means in our Fate Core rules for Lovecraft. So John's here with me, and John's working on the character creation
Good
too.
morning. Welcome to Breakfast at Arkham,
I'm getting
where
feedback.
we're going to talk about today a little bit about character creation and what that means in.
You getting feedback from somebody? I can't hear you, John.
Yeah, that was Doug. I muted him.
Okay. I was like, why am I hearing myself? All right. So there is a couple things that we're trying to do for as far as character creation, and John, feel free to interrupt me whenever. So we're going to have three different ways that you can get started with a game within our world. We're going to have quick start characters, and with those we're going to have charts where players can make rolls and then essentially build their high concept and get that started. We're going to have the ability for the second method, I guess, is the ability for players to pick and build their own high concept. And then the final one is that we're going to have a couple pre-generated characters that are going to be provided with the book so that you can just kind of grab them and drop them straight into your game. So I guess let's talk about the quick gen guys here really quick. So let's see if I'm going to build the charts here. So what we try to do is answer the question for the quick gen in much the same way as Numenera does. So the sentence that you're going to finish for your high concept is, I am a adjective with this job who has this kind of character twist. So some examples we have are like an extroverted researcher who found a hidden magic book, a high society archaeologist whose partner went missing, an obsessed alienist who has terrible nightmares from beyond. And these are all generated from the tables where you just kind of roll it up. So essentially what we did is took our adjectives and broke them out from 4 to -4 and did that for each one. So you could be any range of these different things. So hopefully it gives enough variation for a player to, or a great game group to build a group of characters that are unique. So as far as like adjectives we have for characters in the random chart, we have high society, arrogant, obsessed, extrovert, curious, introvert, absent-minded, selfless, and bankrupt. So it kind of goes from good ones to bad ones. Different kind of jobs we have: occultists, soldiers, archaeologists, students, reporters, alienists, criminals, cultists, and then our twists, as we're calling them, are like uncovered a magic book, inherited a mysterious gem, terrible nightmares, you are attacked by something indescribable, you have this feeling that things aren't right, you accidentally interrupted some kind of cult, your partner went missing, you've uncovered some kind of dark family secret, and you've discovered some kind of a cursed book and bad things are happening to you. So hopefully that gives enough range initially for players to get in and get going. So if you want to use the build your own characters, what we've done is we've taken that high concept and then we've broken out each one of the parts. So I don't know, John, how many we did 5 or 6 different categories that your characters can fall into. And we wanted to try to keep it kind of in a more traditional sense. So we've got like an occultist category. An academic category. And an academic could be anybody from an archaeologist to a student to a doctor. We've got our criminal class, which is people that are underworld. That could be like a grifter or a burglar or a thug. Although I think thug might be a better under fighter. But
Well,
anyway,
it's they're not really classes in that's of D&D classes. It's more of we tried to group things that were similar in a way to try to have things with similar skill set listed together. So, like for like we decided to go with faithful because faithful can encapsulate someone who's one of the traditional religions, or someone who's a cult, or even someone who's a shaman for different cultures. So that subgroup, that heading is kind of how we categorize people with similar vocations. And so we just decided to go with, I think, with the 5 vocations. It's just so that we can organize things. Basically, under those vocations, we're going to provide a suggested template, and those suggested templates are something you're going to use that you could use, just pick up and use. They're going to be based on the vocations that you rolled in the chart. So if you roll the chart, you go to take that vocation. If you went to the other section that had templates, you could roll the chart, go to that template that would have list the suggested skills, the suggested aspects, and if you had any items in lieu of stunts, or if you add stunts, it'll be a template that would have that for you. It's not something you can't change, but it's just for how deeply you want to go into your character creation. Because you can just simply roll charts, look at a template, and have everything you need for that character. Or you, in the later section, we'll flesh things out, like Alan was saying, where you could build all your aspects, pick all your stunts, and select your skills by hand. And we talk about some of the things to think about for the different vocations. So it's one of the reasons we've done it this way is because people learn differently, and so it's easier for some people to pick things up by taking the charts. Some people want to just read about the different types of things. We'll provide plenty of flavor for the different different jobs or vocations or whatever, just to give you an idea of how, if you wanted to create your own, how do you do it, and it'll be plenty of examples. Those examples are going to help for people who want to start get into the game quickly as well. And that's kind of how it's laid out. So it's going to start with most of the random tables at the beginning, but if you go beyond that, it'll explain the different pieces that those random tables will generate, and then there'll be templates and then other suggested aspects and stunts. And that would be the section on character creation.
Yeah, and that's really what we're going for. We're really kind of, Fate is very open world and kind of up to your imagination, and really with the way we're organizing this and the way we're trying to do this is we're trying to give everybody direction. So, we're not going to add any skills to the game, because realistically the skills that are in the Fate Core book already encompass everything I think that you're going to need in this kind of a game. Just you're going to use it a little differently. If you're a lore, have a lore skill in Fate, it's still going to apply to this world, but maybe your lore is about a specific mythos or a specific god or a specific occult background. It is just the way to how to adapt it to your setting or to this setting specifically. So, and that's what we try to do.
And just to add, if you're familiar with Fate Core, they have the specialization stunts where you could specialize in a particular thing, like archaeology. For academic, that's a lot of what the stunts suggestions are going to be. Instead of having just the generic specialization, choose something, we're going to have, under archaeologists, you would take that lore stunt for specialization in archaeology or anthropology, and so that is going to be how the academic would distinguish himself in their particular field. So that's one to add that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing we're going to do too is we're going to create a generic stunt list, so that if you want to say to your players that you want to be able to say we want to stick to the rules that are in the book, and we want to make an easy way for people to say go ahead and pick a couple stunts from the common stunts list that are for Arkham, or the common aspects list for Arkham, and then specialize with your vocation a couple aspects from there, and it should give you a character that has the right feel. And that's really what it comes down to. You can really do whatever you want in the game. I mean, it's up to you and your game master however you want to build your characters. You don't have to use what we're providing, but we're trying to provide a way for everybody to get in and get the right feel in a quick way, where you're not having to spend hours and hours on character creation and coming up with ideas. Hopefully we have enough ideas that it'll either give you enough to run your game, or give you enough ideas where you can come up with something else that works in the same vein that we're trying to produce. So, and I can give some examples of that. So, like, for example, if you're a Mythos specialist, you would get a stunt called Mythos Specialist. You would get a +2 to any rolls relating to knowing about cults, monsters, or gods, or languages that have to do with the mythos. Pretty simple. Same thing would go for lore. If you have lore of the mythos, you could invoke that aspect and use that for a bonus as well. We have things like I really like stuff like our underworld, our criminal aspect. Criminals can have special abilities like underworld contacts, or knowledge of how to avoid the law, or even maybe knowing how other criminals would think and having some insight into their specific, what would they be doing next, and what would a kidnapper be doing next? Well, I'm a criminal, so based on the people that I've come in contact to, this may be a good idea, kind of thing. But like I said, we really want to make sure that that's, you have at least a direction for that. Now, we're also going to build in, I shouldn't say we're going to, we already have in here a couple different troubles, as well as some relationships, because we want to make sure that everybody kind of is interconnected within your adventure. So you can either use the chart to just kind of pick it, but we added a list of relationship ideas so that you can see, like, Bob is related to Susie because they were childhood friends, or they worked together in the past, or maybe they fought in the war together, or just a kind of a list to kind of, again, give the game master the ability to quickly put it together and have ideas and seeds to build out their own adventure. What else, Sean?
I think that covers a lot of it. Like, basically, it's being set up so you can invest. It's the amount of investment is really up to the person. So if you want to have quick rules, you'll have quick rules. If you want to create all your own aspects, create all your own stunts with. You'll have plenty of examples and ideas presented in the chapter for character creation. So whichever amount of investment you want to place into the creation of the character, all the pieces are going to be there for you. So do it quickly. It'll be there if you want to spend time and come up with aspects that really fits the character you want to create. There are going to be plenty of examples and plenty of discussion on what type of things you would use to create aspects that have the Cthulhu feel or the Lovecraftian feel.
Right, and we also do provide lots of, like I said, John said, lots of samples. We also are providing lists of trouble aspects as well, and we try to make those trouble aspects be double-sided, but also to have the feel that we want to go for. Anything from a trouble aspect of, maybe that ritual wasn't a good idea, or something like, let's see, thrill-seeking adrenaline junkie. My left hand is trying to kill me. The voices told me to do it. I think you could take anything like that and really kind of role play some crazy stuff. I mean, if you have a game master who is compelling you to have your left hand go crazy, there could be, I think, a lot of opportunity to have a good game with that. And at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to, is creating something that's fun and unique. You know.
Yeah. And what we're trying to make aspects that are really befitting the genre, because with the way we see playing Cthulhu, there'll be a lot more compels than normally in Fate games, because there's a lot because of the creepy nature of the setting and all the different issues that you have to contend with. There will generally be more compels being thrown around. So we definitely want to make sure that we have aspects that are interesting and that really add to the story, so that so are interesting troubles and all the different interesting consequences, because the number of compels that will be getting thrown around will probably be significantly greater than in typical games of Fate.
Yeah, I agree, especially because there's going to be a lot of things where events are out of the player's hands, especially once you start getting going and dealing with monsters and crazy events. You're going to have a lot of things where you're going to be making rolls and checks, and you're going to be adding aspects to your character. If you fail a horror check, you're going to add a consequence aspect, and that can really change the way your character runs. And maybe not for a good way,
In the add-on to that, one of the things that are being added, we're adding 2 additional consequences. So there'll be lingering aspects that can last multiple story arcs, because as with the ones you have already, you have one that lasts a scene, one that lasts a session, and one that lasts a milestone. We'll be adding a consequence that would last multiple milestones, and the consequence with that, the first one's 8, the next one's going to be 10, in which you get a consequence that doesn't go away. It's undefined amount of time for which it goes away. So if it ever goes away, it'll be something like you successfully stop something. It'll be a story or plot element that will remove that sort of consequence. So as the games continue, you'll have these more lingering consequences. So that's how that's how part of how we're handling insanity. Instead of having insanities that scale up as you go, since you have these lingering consequences, you'll have multiple personality disorders that add up to how your character goes insane. So he may get a personality disorder for like, let me think of an example. Like you might get post-traumatic stress disorder. And that might end up being your 10 consequence. Alan, you might want to go on the control panel and set it up to have people mute it when they join.
All
right.
Well,
I've muted it anyway, so don't worry about it.
I can mute everybody. I got it.
And so, because eventually you'll have to soak that 10th consequence. That'll be something that'll persist for a story arc or a multiple story arcs, indefinite amount of time. Then when you have to soak a consequence through 8, that's going to be something that's going to last milestones. So those slowly stacking up different insanity aspects will lead to your character eventually going insane. So with that, that's effectively how we are going to handle people being driven insane. And so with the character aspects, you're going to have your troubles, but that's just going to be as it goes, you're going to be slowly collecting more troubles along the way, and to create that slow creeping feel of being driven insane by discovering the truth. And so, and that's why we focus so much on making sure that we have good aspects that someone who's picking up the game is going to find interesting, because they're going to build up. You're going to have many different troubling aspects as you discover the alien knowledge that that'll be hard to deal with. And so we want to make sure that we're providing aspects and consequence aspects that are interesting and compelling to fit the genre and to give you that Cthulhu feel.
Right, right, and I think to expand to my only comment on that would be, you know, I think one of the things that I like coming out of this is while you are gonna die in this game, that will happen, but that's like the easy way out of the game because your character is gonna slowly disintegrate while you're playing it, and that's really, I think, goes to a lot of what Lovecraft stories were. You know, you always had this, you know, very curious guy at the beginning of the story, and he slowly peels back the layers in like, you know, learns a little bit or uncovers something or summons something, and his sanity slowly goes down the toilet. And that's really what we wanted to go for. I mean, you know, other Cthulhu games are about investigating and searching and that kind of stuff, and that's all, I think, a part of the Lovecraft experience. But at the same time, this is about discovery and about exploration and about surviving. And realistically, you're going to need to be lucky to survive. And we're going to set it up in such a way with what we're providing where your characters, even out of the gates, while they're not going to be insane or have some kind of mental problems from the get-go, but they are going to start with some kind of twist that is going to be easy for a game master to get them down the right path, like, you know, down the rabbit hole, as it were. You know, if you got a cult after you by default, right away, you know, your adventure can have an easy way to guide characters into different encounters. You know, if you give a person trouble where you know, you witness a heinous murder, well, that's, you know, while it's not a big deal initially, you know, you could definitely compel a player to have a problem or have some kind of a detail that goes along with that would, again, drive the adventure into the way that you want. So, like I said, Fate. When you go with a Fate, everything in the Fate books and everything, it's a big deal for creating characters. It's about taking the time to go through and talk it through and figure out how you want it all to fit together. And like I said, we're trying to give everybody a way to do it easily without having to go through all that brainstorming that would go into your initial game. And as we go forward and we do some play tests, we'll actually do that, and it'll give people the ability to see what that is all about. So we got a couple people in the video with us. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to chime in, and we're happy to answer any questions. Anybody? I think everybody's just watching. All right. Well, I guess, John, if you don't have anything to add, I guess we'll just wrap this up. You're muted, John.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't have anything, especially that. I'm pretty much covered. I think we covered character creation as well as we can. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. And the next Hangout video will be on Friday, same time, 9 a.m. Pacific. All right. Have a good day, everyone.